Work with them.
There you go, okay.
Okay, let's be nice now.
Why?
We are back. Common Sense. News Talk 103.3 WEZS. You can also hear us online, WEZS.com. And don't forget the podcast of this program, which everybody will want to listen to again. Will be up shortly after 10 a.m. Our phone number is 603-524-6288 if you care to join in on the conversation.
Did you hear my backup signal? Beep. We're gonna back the truck up
Okay.
because we need to recognize where this current scrap has started, because I suspect what we're going to find when we dig into the political committee or registration is that the Gunstock Area Commissioners and the Gunstock Commission are part and parcel of the reason that this new pack was created. Now, where the scrap seems to have started, and this is my assertion, is with the release of the Gunstock master plan. They redid the master plan over a year ago. Remember that?
Who's they?
Oh, yes. They is the Gunstock Area Commission.
Commissioners, okay.
They had a public meeting at which they described a number of things that they foresaw as possible ways forward for Gunstock, meaning changes to the facility, to add additional runs, to change the bottom of the ski area, they talked about things like restaurants and places to stay and more, opening new areas.
Okay.
So the typical things that you would find on a master plan. But that has kind of been set aside for the time being. And
Who would pay for that?
that's a very good question. That's kind of where all of this stems from. When they did the master plan presentation, it took about an hour for them to do the master plan presentation, and there were, I think, 5 alternatives, if memory serves, and each of the alternatives had a dollar number attached to it. The problem was that if you actually went and asked to see the financials, where did you get the number that makes up the costs, and how are you proposing to pay for it?
There you
If
go.
you're going to have a master plan, you should have a way to attach the dollars to the
Absolutely.
intended actions. So that was actually done, and there was no release of the information that would support the numbers that were given out in the master plan presentation.
Yeah. Openness and transparency.
Oh my
Yay high.
gosh. They just didn't do any of it?
Well, I don't know that. I can't say that it wasn't done. I can say that it wasn't shared. So
Holy moly.
the cost numbers, I'm sure there was an engineering study because they had an engineering firm that
Got paid?
got paid and signed their name to the master plan. Now, it may have been an earlier version or an adaptation to an earlier version.
Yeah.
But in order to say that this
Project.
particular project or section of the proposal will cost $5,832,642.17, they had to have someone had to have costed that out.
Of course.
That's just the normal business process, and one would expect that would be available should you follow up and
But the
ask.
commissioners didn't think that was something like that most responsible delegation would ask for? I mean,
Previous commissioners, let's
the
be clear.
previous commissioners didn't think that this information was
Well, it wasn't released. Whatever they may have thought.
ouch.
It was not
Okay.
released. It was asked for, it was not shared.
Okay.
The same is true on the revenue side, which leaves us to assume that the $44 million would have been in some way bonded by the citizens or taxpayers of Belknap County, which is where the discussion began,
Or investors.
or investors.
Yeehaw!
Wait a minute.
And
This
it
is
gets-
this
it
is
gets
this is
worse.
this is a government enterprise.
Yes.
Yep.
Where do you get investors in a government enterprise?
Well, this is why I
It's
was,
a private-public partnership?
No,
Wait.
when did that happen?
Mark, this is why I was saying, part of the problem is that they felt that they were a company,
Yes.
not a government
It
agency.
all becomes clear, doesn't it?
Oh, it can.
Where they were in this place, and how it all went so wrong.
Well, communication is always at the nub of it when you start to figure out why do we have a conflict here, and when you have communications that's not clear and it's not
Okay.
complete,
You get the problem.
you start to have different camps come up as more information comes out, and that's what we have here. Is we had a situation where people started asking questions, and the more questions got asked, the more conflict.
There became. So
Yes.
let's be clear though. If you are a person that was hired or is hired or voted, won't say hired, voted by the community to go in there and guard their tax-paying dollars, you bet your butt if that responsible, respectful delegate would not sit there and pretend that there was something okay about the fact that there was no explanation on how they were going to play Monopoly with the tax-paying dollars. Doesn't work. So communication aside, I agree with you. Communication's huge. Keep the discussion going.
But from what I've heard you say, I think that rather than not wanting the taxpayers to see what we're spending, it sounded like the commission, the old commission, did not want the delegation to see the non-taxpayer monies that were in theory going to be used.
Well, let's go back to the explanation of
Because
what a
that's the
Dillon's-
bigger problem.
Well, let's go, the bigger problem is
Well, it's
going back
certainly a
to,
discussion point.
going back to what's the definition of a Dillon's rule state. There is nothing in RSA 399 that delegates the power to the Gunstock Area Commission to do any kind of public-private project.
Yes.
So there's nothing there. Plus, communication, yeah, one of those things, part of the master plan was to build a hotel. Now, this is just a hill for the county. Folks wanted to be able to compete against the big mountains further north. And the hotel, from what I understand of that project, master project plan, was going to be built on land that Gunstock didn't own. And when the conservation people who had the easements
Oh, jeez.
got wind of this, I think I can politely use two words because one's 2 letters and the other one is 5 letters, called up yours. And they put a kibosh to that. Kibosh for Kidash. How's that?
That sounds like a bumper sticker. You know what? Last break now. We'll be right back.
Croc TV.